So when I was in high school, a movie came out, and it was a pretty impactful movie. My family loved it. It was very, very popular. Um, Led to anytime something happened. If anyone's familiar with the term deja vu, same thing happening twice, or you're in a situation and you feel like you've been there before. Instead of saying deja vu, people started saying, "Oh, it's a glitch in the matrix." I never thought that this would be a legitimate school of thought, but it has turned into just that. Um, there is a view that we are actually just living in the matrix. There are some different ways this view plays out, and I was planning on doing a longer, lengthier video going over this topic, but I ended up coming across Brandon Holland. He's been on the channel a couple times. He has a podcast and a Substack on called Rooted Reason, and uh, great stuff. You need to go check it out if you have not. I highly recommend it. There should be links in the description of this video and other videos as well. But he did a really good job breaking this down, kind of looking at what would be required for this view to actually be possible or plausible. And then looking at some different ways that people see this view playing out. And I'm not going to go over all of the different things that he discusses. There is one particular one I want to go over. I'm going to touch on a couple of his points to lay this out, but you definitely want to go check out his stuff to really hear his full reasoning for each of these different views on whether they line up with reality, whether they're possible or not. So going into this, you really have to look at there's four questions he brings up, and I don't remember who he said originally came up with them, but there are four questions, and each view has to answer these questions. Does it answer the inescapable questions of life? Is there internal consistency? Is there causal adequacy? And does it conform to that which is undeniably true? Now, I'm not going to go into each of those. For the purpose of this video, we really only need to look at the causal adequacy one. So, does it have enough? Does it adequately explain how we got here at the beginning? So you can talk about the universe and origins and things like that. Really, it's logically inconsistent to think of our universe being past eternal. The reason why is because our universe is made up of space, time, and matter, and that can't exist forever. As an analogy to kind of think this through, if you have an infinite number of books all lined up in a row, and half the books are black, half of them are red, and you take away all the red books, how many books do you have left? Well, it's still an infinite. Well, if you cut that in half, how many are left? Well, it's still infinite. So the whole premise of like setting it up this way, if our universe is past eternal, past infinite, it's not possible that you could ever get to here in time. We would never be able to get to where we are. And there's some arguments against that. There's some more arguments for this, but generally speaking, it's not logically consistent that the world is past eternal. I think most people don't think that it is. So, does it adequately explain how everything came into existence, how the cause that started it all? And he breaks out, and some of these I actually was not aware of. He comes up with, I guess one of them I wasn't aware of, two or three main ways that this could exist. And I want to look at one of these. I'm going to play a short clip from his episode, and then we'll actually talk through this a little bit. So, the first possible way that people view this world of it's a simulation is we're like The Sims, where someone is kind of telling us what to do and making us go different places and stuff like that. And it's just basically like a game. Um, he gets in some reasons why that doesn't work. The second one, which is the one that I want to look at, is it's like the Matrix. So we're plugged into the simulation. We go through, we have all the feelings and things like that, and they are real, but we're not really in this. If anyone has seen the movie The Matrix or I think it's a trilogy. I think there's only three, but the Matrix movies, they are plugged into this machine, and they are going through. It's the Matrix, and as they're going through, they actually, if they get shot, then they really like feel that they really actually end up they could die from it, even though it's happening in this fake world. It's a lot to explain in a short video here. I do think the first movie is good, so go watch the first movie if you haven't seen it. And then next is we're just brains in the computer. I've also heard this as kind of just brains floating in ooze, having a shared thought that we think is real. We think of as an experience, and he goes into some reasons why that one doesn't work um, as well. But I do, like I said, I want to touch on his Matrix one and look at that because I thought that was good. And he, like I said, I was planning on looking into this and making a little bit of a lengthier video on it, but I feel like he did enough good on this that I don't know that there's really a whole lot I can add from making a whole nother video, but I did want to still kind of talk about it. So we're going to look at his Substack here. And I've got it pulled up at the 12-minute 17-second mark. Like I said, all of his links will be in the description, so go check him out. Subscribe to it, give him some love. He has a lot of really really good content on there. So we're going to listen through just about 20 seconds, maybe 30 seconds.
Grant that, for the sake of the argument, well, we still exist independent of the machine, so you still.
So he says, we'll grant the idea, we'll grant this premise for the sake of the argument that we are inside of the Matrix. And he said, we still exist independent of that machine. So
Have to answer how our existence independent of the machine has consciousness, how we're even existing there at all, how we can have coherent experiences even inside the simulation. So you still, like done is just push the question of origins, push the question of our existence, and all that stuff. You just pushed it back one step, but you haven't actually answered anything by suggesting we live in a matrix.
and, like I said, I think he answered it great. There really isn't anything there that you're missing out on the causal explanation. Now, what was really shocking to me the first time I heard this idea was there were individuals who believed this. They said that we lived in this simulation. They said that um, the reasons they gave that we lived in the simulation were because they give arguments like the fine tuning of the universe, um, how necessary it is for everything to be already set the way that it is, the idea that we have a sense of morality that does seem to expand beyond just culture, at least to some extent. Um, that most people around the world would say that it is wrong to torture a baby because you like the sound of its screams. Um, that's a it sounds really morbid. It is really morbid. That's a common phrase used when talking about this idea of morality. But we would agree most people really, regardless of where they're at culture wise, would agree with that. There seems to be a lot of things like that that really transcend the idea of just being here accidentally. And so they see all this evidence, and their their automatic thought is, okay, well there must be a designer. But rather than going to there's a god that designed it, it must be a programmer because they can't say there's a god. They can't. They just can't. And some of the individuals that really promote this idea are very, very hostile towards Christianity. Very much talk about it like it is uh, stupid. You are ignorant if you buy into this. Um, but really, there's not that much of a difference between what they're saying. They've just called God the programmer. That that's it. And it does not make sense to me that they're that unwilling to accept that there is a God, that they would see all the evidence for a God. They would see all the stuff that's there. And then rather than going to, okay, there's a God, they would jump to this other conclusion, which as Brandon points out with this the matrix view, it still doesn't answer that question. So as he said, let's grant it for the sake of argument, we still exist independent of the machine. So you still have to answer that question. It just you're pushing it back one step. And so let's say that's true. Okay, then maybe God is still the best answer outside of this universe or outside of this matrix that we live in. Um, yeah. No, I thought that was a good one. Brandon did a really good job. He has a lot of really, really good stuff on there. Kind of topical. I think if you enjoy anything that we have here on Basic Biblical, you will enjoy his stuff. So make sure you check that out. Show him some love. Thanks for watching. God bless.